Hello people. So what I understood from the feedback on my last video, that my audio is not very clear, and definitely I'll get a mic for myself. It will take few days. And the second issue is the language. What should be the language of the video? So I'll keep the video in the English language only, and here and there I'll try to communicate in English, and that comes natural to me. So I'll keep that. Here I'll what I for now I have decided that I'll take up a topic and discuss it from the GS perspective, from prelims and mains both perspective, and then I'll go and touch upon from the PSIR perspective in the last 5 minutes. So 5 minutes for GS perspective and 5 minutes from PSIR perspective, specifically from PSIR perspective, not only PSIR perspective, because PSIR is the bigger set. So today there was a article in Indian Express where it has mentioned that the presidential reference, there was last year there was a presidential reference on the bills and ASSENT, and actually there are last year in April 2024, two judges bench of Supreme Court said that governor cannot sit on the bill, and there must be a three months timeline on the president and governor on the state bills, and this actually created this issue. And then president under the article 143 asked Supreme Court to provide some advices on the 14 points, and one core point was that can judiciary decide on the timelines for the timelines on the assent of the bill. So what are the articles involved here? The article involved here is Article 200, then Article 201 of the Constitution, Article 143 under which the reference has been given, then Article 154 and Article 163 that government must act on the aid and advice of the cabinet, and except in some discretionary matters. Then Article 123 where illustrate that the principle of executive power cannot override the legislative intent. Then there are question of basic principle involved, that parliamentary democracy, then federalism, then separation of power, check and balances, constitutional morality, and responsible government. So what are the actually when you see the argument of the all side, so what is the centrist argument? That there is separation of power. Supreme Court cannot take up the legislative role, and if there is an issue, it should be solved through political route, and not judiciary cannot solve the political issues. Then definitely constitutional functionaries are answerable to the public, and if governor and president are not acting which in the true intent, they are answerable to public. And if they'll voted out from the power, if every 5 years, if they are not acting in line with the constitution, and there's a judicial overreach when courts cannot assume the power to solve every problem. There are different functions, and there are different power with the different authority, and as parliament don't assume the judicial power, in the same way judiciary should not assume itself with the power of legislature and solving this kind of problem. And then arguments from the state side, if you see that if there is a constitutional silences, definitely court can come up and fill that gap to protect the democratic functioning. Then the second thing is there is a need of timelines. Why? Because this situation is remedy-less situation. Then this situation creates a veto to the governor, that governor can ultimately it's like absolute veto on the indefinite veto on the bills. And then to avoid this dysfunctionalism, Supreme Court can intervene. And then there is an argument that constitution is a living document, and it should be interpreted based on the workability and avoid the paralysis situation it has created. Then there's an argument in favor of judicial intervention, that of course there's a cabinet system in India, cabinet supremacy is there, and both president and governor are literally ahead, and they can the real power lies with the elected legislature and the cabinet elected by them. Then there is a collective responsibility, and withholding assent undermining the legislative supremacy. And there is in Article 200 there is a term called as soon as possible, which in which implies urgency, and it actually violates basic structure. So these here you can give the example of Vishaka guideline when Supreme Court came up with the fill the gap of a law where there was a caveat. And I mean, the basic structure is also basic structure doctrine the evolution of this doctrine is also to fill a gap, so it's not something new. Then it is violation of separation of power is also one argument, that legislature makes law and judiciary interprets them. So governance is not above of them, so of course judiciary can interpret. Then there is a federalism, and because governor is tilted toward the center, it is a breach of federalism, and to prevent misuse of office of governor. So indefinitely sitting on the bills is like overturning the decision of our elected legislature. So this is from the perspective of GS. And what there are some judgment you can quote, that SR judgment, and then doctrine you can quote the basic structure doctrine, and then what more you can quote, like committee's recommendation, Panchi Commission and Sarkaria Commission. Sarkaria Commission earlier asked that there should be a timeline, and Panchi Commission asked for even the amendment. There should be amendment to fix the timeline, and this Sarkaria Commission also asked to governor should be a statesman and not somebody who should be actively involved in politics. So these are some GS perspective thing from this article. And then when it comes to from here, I will discuss something from the PSIR optional perspective. So there are some theoretical lens, some normative lens which you can apply over here. There is a federalism theory where Casey West says that India has a quasi federal federalism design, and governor often acts as a central agent. And then the Granville Austin that cooperative federalism is the constitution's soul, and any delays and active delays erode that federalism overall the constitutional soul. Then this Montesquieu's separation of power you can use over here. But Indian model is more of check and balances and not of strict balance. Sorry. Then there is a constitutionalism debate over here, that A.V. Dicey that says that key rule of law demands constraint on arbitrary power, and a governor's inactions violate it. Then upholding constitutional morality, where you can quote Neera Chandok, where she says that institution must work in the good faith to keep constitutional morality intact. So, and then there is a there should be a responsible government, and where you can quote Ivor Jennings that cabinet is the real executive, and tutorial heads have no discretion, should not have any discretionary view to. And then you can quote a living constitution thought over here, that Balkin and Perry, that interpretation of the constitution must evolve around the political realities. Then you can also, apart from Sarkaria and Panchi Commission, there is NCRWC, National Commission on Review of Working of Constitution 2000, which advocated to clarify the discretionary power of the governor. And governor, it also stated that governor must not interfere with the legislature. And another scholarly view you can quote here, that which I guess Shivasi Chatterjee has given, that centralization through constitutional functionaries weaken the asymmetric federalism. So you can you can touch upon these theory, and this will take care of your normative backing, what you are saying, and what you are saying in your answers. You can give this kind of normative and theoretical backing to your answer. Then I think it's enough for the day. Thank you.